professors from Walsh Jesuit High School, and this section is factor by grouping. Alright, so when we factor by grouping, you always want to have 4 terms. That is the main thing that you need to remember when you're factoring by grouping. So the first step is to go through and group the front, group the back. It's really, really important for you to keep that plus sign in the middle of everything. Okay, so make sure you do that first. Now, you want to look at 16a cubed plus 20a squared. Don't worry about these 2 terms over here, but what can we take out of both of these? You can take out a 4 out of 16 and 20, and you can take an a squared out of a cubed and a squared. So what you have left over, okay, you've got 4a, and then if you take a 4a squared out of 20a squared, you're just left with 5. Now, keep that plus sign in the middle, and let's look at these other 2. You have 28a plus 35. Now, we can take out of 28a and 35 is a 7. So you're left with 4a plus, you take 7 out of 35, and you're left with 5. Now, if you notice this, the thing that is in parentheses is the exact same. That's what you want. If you don't have the same thing, then this cannot work. So you write what you see twice, which is 4a plus 5. Write what you see twice, cross it out, and write what you have left over, which is 4a squared plus 7. And you're done. So this is how you factor 16a cubed plus 20a squared plus 28a plus 35 factors into 4a plus 5 and 4a squared plus 7. All right, let's try another example. Now let's look at all of these. You've got 18v cubed minus 3v squared plus 12v minus 2. First, look at all of your numbers and all of your terms to make sure that you can't take anything out. 18, 3, 12, and 2. You cannot take a number out of all of those, and all of them do not have a v. So let's go ahead and get started with the grouping. So you group the front, group the back. Keep the plus sign in the middle. 18v cubed and 3v squared. You can take a 3 out of 18 and 3. You can take a v squared out of v cubed and v squared. So we are left with 6, because 18 divided by 3 gives me 6. You have v cubed, you take v squared out, and you're left with v. Now minus. If I take a 3 out of 3 and a v squared out of v squared, a lot of students think that they don't have anything left. Well, if you say I took that whole thing out and I don't have anything left, you need a placeholder of a 1. So make sure you put that placeholder of a 1 there, or you're not going to be subtracting anything. Now we've got 12v minus 2. So keep that plus sign. Out of 12 and 2, you can take a 2 out, and you're left with 6v. And again, you took the whole entire 2 out, so make sure you have that placeholder of a 1. Again, we have the same exact thing inside those parentheses, which is what we want. So you write what you see twice, which is 6v minus 1. Cross those guys out, and you're left with 3v squared plus 2. And that's my final answer. 6v minus 1, then times 3v squared plus 2. Let's try another one. All right, let's look at all these numbers. You've got 15, 25, 12, and 20. You cannot take the same number out of all of those, so just leave them. You've got v cubed, v squared, v, and nothing, so you can't do anything with that. So now let's go ahead and just group. Now notice, the 2 examples that we had before had plus signs here. Now we have a minus sign. So whenever you have a minus sign in the middle, you always, always, always change the sign behind it. So it was a minus sign, I change it to a plus sign. If it was a plus sign, you change it to the minus sign. Keep the middle sign the same, change the sign behind it, only when you have negative signs. That's very important. So let's go ahead and group. You take a 5v squared out, and you're left with 3v plus 5. Bring down your minus sign. You can take, out of both of these, you can take out a 4. So if you take out a 4, you're left with 3v plus 5. Now notice, if I didn't change this sign behind, all right, then they wouldn't be the same. So if you forget to change the sign, that means you're not going to have the same. So make sure you always change that sign behind. Because technically, you're really taking out a negative 4, which is changing that sign to be different. So we see the same thing, which is 3v plus 5. Cross those guys out, and you're left with 5v squared minus 4, which is my final answer. All right, let's look at this last one. We've got 6x cubed plus 48x squared minus 10x minus 80. Now, looking at all of those terms, what do you notice? You've got 6, 48, 10, and 80. You can take a 2 out of all of those, so do that first because you want it to be completely factored. If you don't take a 2 out, it's not going to be a correct answer. And you're left with 3x cubed plus 24x squared minus 5x minus 40. All right, so circle that 2 and put an arrow down to the bottom so you remember to keep that 2 with your answer. Now, what you want to do is work inside those parentheses. So, we can group here and here. This minus sign changes the sign behind it, so make sure you do that. Now, don't worry about that 2 until your bottom, okay? You can take a 3x squared out, and you're left with x plus 6. Now, out of these, okay, or x plus 8, oops, I apologize. Then, out of these, bring down your minus sign. You have 5x plus 40. You can take a 5 out, and you're left with, then, x plus 8. So you see x plus 8 twice, so write it once. X plus 8, cross those guys out, and you're left with 3x squared minus 5. Now, because you have this arrow coming down here, you need to put this 2 out in front. So my answer is 2 times x plus 2 times quantity of 3x squared minus 5. All right, that is how you factor by grouping. So if you have any other questions, make sure you stop and see me in the math office or email me at kesterse@wallstretcher.org. I'll see you in class.